Hey there, my name is Pravus, and welcome to Steamed, the series where I go through my Steam library and find the games that I bought but never had a chance to play. Today we're taking a look at Parkitect, and this is a theme park tycoon game. It doesn't have the same bells and whistles you would expect from a modern game like, let's say, Planet Coaster, but it does have that classic charm from games such as Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2. In fact, if you grew up playing those games, I don't see how you don't walk away enjoying Parkitect, because it is immensely similar, though it does have a few modern twists, and I'll show you what those are like in just a bit. Now, there is a campaign mode, of course, in the game where you can play with various different levels and scenarios, where you have different objectives, such as having a certain number of guests in your park, making them happy, etc., etc. And for the sake of an introduction, let's go ahead and play through one of those. We'll play Western Roundup. I need 500 guests in the park, a high happiness rating, and sell about 800 park tickets. Should be fine, but the goal is to do this all within 2 years. Alright, welcome to our map. Now already you might be able to tell it looks very reminiscent of games like Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2, in part because of this very grid-based style. However, it's got some more modern graphics and animations, which give it a little bit of a facelift. Now we do start off apparently with a carousel, and if I hide some scenery, looks like I have a couple of other shops and stuff too. I do have, let's say, some toilets, some info kiosks, and some hot dogs and soft drinks. Alright, that's enough to kind of get some things started, but it's not going to last very long, and it's not going to draw the big crowds. What we really need is a roller coaster. Let's go ahead and take a look at those. Now, we could go ahead and design our own coaster. If you want to do that, you can. It's exactly the same as something like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you build it up piece by piece. However, I don't have the time nor the talent to build a really good one, so I'm going to go ahead and go to our blueprints and find something that's pre-built and pre-decorated. Now, what's something that works for me? I want to have a very high excitement rating, a reasonable intensity rating to draw in the right kind of crowd, and then balance that with the initial startup costs. Something like these manic mines would probably do the job. I like that. So let's go ahead and place this over here, for example, close enough to the guests where they can see it and decide that they want to join in on the fun. And then, of course, we're just going to set up some quick pathing to get over here, join everything up. That should be about all we need. Let's just go ahead and open up the ride, and we're going to increase the cost of this to, let's say, $6 to ride. Not $600, I'm sorry. That would be insane. I mean, look, I'm a greedy guy, all right, but I'm not that crazy. That's just, oof, that's just mean. Anyway, what other kind of rides can we get? Something thrill-related wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe one of these jumpers over here. Anything that's already pre-built with some decorations that would make sense? Not really, and even then they greatly increase the cost, so we're not going to worry about that. Instead, let's just go ahead and place down a simple ride of my own. I'll place you over, let's say, here, I think. And then we'll have an entry and an exit queue. There we go. Something like this should be more than enough. Then we get over here and, of course, open this up as well. Now, there are a couple of things you should be aware of that are different in this game. The biggest one that I can think of is actually going to be centered around things like your shops. So you might notice there's a special different kind of a pathing over here that is really intended for employees only. If you hide the scenery, you can see it a little bit better. Unlike games like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you can place down, let's say, a burger shop and the materials needed to assemble a burger just, spontaneously teleport where they need to go, we actually do need to deliver goods and have it hauled over to their respective kiosks. And your guests generally do not like seeing all of the workers hauling goods around. It kind of takes them out of the immersion. That's a big part of this game. So something you need to do is use your scenery carefully to try and obscure some of those features so that people can't see people walking around. Take a look at, let's say, the decoration field over here. This is all pink, showing that it's kind of ugly and not very attractive. But no one knows this area's all green because it was so well decorated and hidden that it works out perfectly. Kind of an interesting twist to the game. It does mean, though, that we need to hire ourselves some haulers. We actually already have one, so that's good. They'll grab some goods from a supply depot over here and use the employee paths to walk them over where they need to go. I'll also go ahead and hire up a janitor. Of course, we'll need a mechanic, and always a good idea to get yourself a security guard who can detect those pesky vandals. The vandals, when they do arrive in the park, like to destroy things as fast as they can, so let's just go ahead and assign a quick zone like this, and I'll tell my security guard to mostly stick in this general area. Try to spot those vandals and lock them up before they do anything too nasty. Alright, so this is just going to have to be good enough for the time being because I am, of course, out of money. You can take out some loans, and that is something we will probably have to do in order to meet our 2-year deadline with this game, but obviously I'd try to avoid that if I can. For now, let's just try to increase our overall profit through our different rides. Always double check here to see if there's something here saying, this is a really good value, which, like, people like it if it's a really good value, but, I mean, I want to charge them. I want to charge them some money, dang it. So we'll take a look over here. Now, it doesn't say that this is currently too cheap. All right, probably as good as we can get. Let's just kind of sit back and let some cash walk in. Now, while we sit around waiting for a little bit of money to generate, you can do some research. For example, our research team just completed researching a new thrill ride. We have access to the G-Lock. Whatever that's supposed to be good for, I have no idea. We can always change things up a little bit if we don't want to have that kind of a thrill ride. Let's say we want to go for another calm ride or something like that. Though to be honest, the thrill rides are usually going to end up being your moneymakers, so most of the time those are what you're going to want. Honestly though, I don't think I can afford to wait around for the money here. I think we're going to go ahead and go straight to the loan department and see if we can grab somebody at a reasonable interest rate. $6,000 extra may not seem like a ton, but I think it's going to do. As long as we can make more money from it than we are spending, it's going to end up being well worth it. So are there any other simple rides that we could pick up, like a relatively cheap but effective wooden roller coaster? Probably not at this price, to be honest. Maybe, though. This panic loop could kind of work. Decent intensity, pretty darn high excitement value. Sure, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles we want from some decorations, but it could be kind of fun, especially if we set it up over here, for example. So it ends up being close to this little lake. Sure. I say lake. It's obviously an oasis. Y'all know what I mean. Of course, that cost me pretty much every penny I had, so I'm really hoping this is going to be a crowd pleaser, but I would like to think that a pair of roller coasters is going to get very exciting for some people. Now, the one downside of playing in a deserty map and a western-themed thing like this is there's actually not a lot I can do from a decorations perspective, which admittedly can get a little bit boring. This game really does try to focus a lot on the immersion side of things, right? It wants you to decorate fairly aggressively in order to make your park guests happy. But again, there's really only so much I can work with when it's just cactus. You do have to take care of your employees to some degree as well. If I had a bit more money, I wouldn't mind getting myself a staff room. $1,000, give them a place where they can take a proper break. Again, hide that from the guests, and you'll be better off. Also, a staff training room is an area where I can start boosting up their efficiency, but I can't afford any of that right now. Now let's take a look at the individual profitability of each of these rides. We can take a look over here. We can see what our revenue is currently looking like, except for times when it's had to be maintained or broken down. Over here, generally speaking, revenue higher than our expenses. Good, that's what we want to see across the board if we can. And it looks like for all of our rides, that is certainly the case. Yet, with all those salaries and stuff, we can see that our operating costs has not been outstanding. We're gaining some profit, just not a lot. It's fine though, paying off loans was not one of the goals of this particular run. Let's go ahead and take out another loan, and we're going to place down, let's say, some go-karts. The dust buggies could be good. Alternative, there is Route 66. No, I'm looking at the excitement, the intensity, and the nausea rating, and I'm thinking I want the highest excitement possible. This one seems pretty good, so let's go ahead and place this right along over here. All right, there we go. I'm hoping that the go-karts are going to get me a fair bit of extra profit. That's fine. We'll have some toilets over here, but of course I need to surround that with some various different distracting decorations so no one knows how ugly it is out here in the middle of the dunes. But to be honest, if that's all you want to do, just surround it by some walls and a ceiling, and all of a sudden, this thing is pretty negligible. I mean, look at this. No one even knows it's there. Anyway, would you look at that? All of a sudden, my operating costs appear to have jumped up. We are starting to make a proper profit, at least to some degree. Hooray! Let me go ahead and pay off this small loan so I can take out one of the larger loans. There we go. Main reason being, I would like to have one more of these roller coasters, let's say off in this general direction like so, and keep trying to draw more people in over here. Wow, this one actually does look like it was designed around Petra. Oh, that's kind of sweet. Of course, the more of these rides we are able to place inside of the park, as a general rule, the more guests we will be able to attract. And my goal is to get up to 500 of them if possible, and I'm willing to go into as much debt as I need to make that happen, dang it. So for up to 434 guests, I just need a bit more. Now, you can place shops elsewhere far away from the supply depots, by the way. That is something you can do, though it does become a little bit of a pain. You see, under your park utilities over here, you can have some small little depots located over here. The problem then being that you'll need to use some special transportation chutes underground in order to join them up with the main depot over here and quickly ship your goods from point A to point B. That is an option. Is it worth doing that? In this case, no, because I don't have a lot of extra shops to work with right now, but that's how that would work if you want to. There we go. 500 guests have appeared. Okay, so let's take a look at our goals and see where we're sitting. So we have 500 guests in the park. We have our happiness rating of 75%. I'll show you that in a second. All we're trying to do now is just get more people into the park in general. I've only sold 635 tickets. I need to sell 800. Anyway, we were talking about things like happiness and stuff. If we go to our guest overview right here, we can see what their current stats are. For the most part, they're very happy right now. Their tiredness is not too bad. Their hunger is high-ish. Thirst is pretty bad too, but they're not outrageous. You know, people know where the drinks are. Toilet's okay, nausea's fine. And most importantly, that whole immersion thing kind of ties directly into happiness. Lots of decorations make people feel like they're a part of a new world. They love stuff like that. It keeps them in the park for a lot longer. All right, I'm not getting quite enough guests for my taste, and we're getting really close to the end of the year. Gonna go to finances, and we're gonna go for just a general park advertisement. It's gonna take about 3 months. It's gonna cost me the rest of the money I've got, but honestly, that's fine. Just draw people into the dang park. I need to get up to 800 dang sales. Come on. There we go, there we go. I'm starting to see a lot more people show up. Okay. We might be able to make this after all. I just need to get like 40 more guests. And boom, there we go. Okay, they have to hold that for 3 weeks to win. 3 weeks? Well, good news, it's still only September, so I got just enough time to still do this within the 2-year mark. And we should be now done. Perfect. Okay, I have completed my goals. Now I can safely walk away from this map, and we know we've met all of our objectives. And now the Western Roundup map has been unlocked in Sandbox mode. How nice. And this all leads to the unlocking of the Coral Island as my next map, which I'm not going to worry about right now, but you get an idea how that works. Instead, let's go ahead and jump into a Sandbox mode. Now, one thing I want to point out over here is this game does have a pretty healthy modding community. Lots of people creating their own different types of attractions, decorations, roller coaster designs, and so on, and uploading them into the Steam Workshop. There are some spotlight challenges, and when people actually win those, they get added into the game permanently, which is kinda cool. So there's really no shortage of content and a lot of creativity on the Steam Marketplace. So let's go ahead and jump into a brand new fantasy park. I've got $25,000 to start with, and look at this magical wonderland I can build with in Sandbox mode. How fun. Well, in Sandbox mode, I've got everything unlocked. So we can actually take a look at all the different types of rides that exist by default in the game, and as you may see, there are quite a few of them. This game is not shy of content. So what are some good roller coasters I can place down that are gonna get attention right off the bat? This one looks like a giant medieval castle. I mean, that sounds like exactly what I'm looking for. Let's try not to have this thing elevated in a weird way, though. Something like this? Yeah, sure, why not? There you go. Kind of like the look of this. All right, so with a couple of little rides going right now, we should be able to generate a little bit of excitement. One thing I did not think through is it appears that all of our supply depots are going to be cut off. I should not have done something like that. Maybe we can go ahead and place some employee pathing like underground or something. Should be able to do things like that. There we go. And then we can just kind of circle around this way like this. Okay, and I can turn this into like a giant eating area or maybe a souvenir shops. What do I think people are going to need? Well, first off, how about we go for some simple burgers? And maybe a little bit of pizza. I sure know I like finding some extremely overpriced fast food theme park pizza. And just some simple drinks, maybe a little bit of ice cream or something, and that'll have to be fine for now. We'll just go ahead and place these like so. And then, of course, I need to use decorations to hide all this garbage. How about just some simple hedges? People like hedges. Those things look like really like ornate or something. There you go. Something like this should be fine. Then, of course, we just need to hire ourselves at least a couple of haulers, especially since they're going to have a long way to walk. Plus a janitor, plus a mechanic, plus a security guard. And I won't worry about the entertainers quite yet. But again, all of this should be enough just to kind of get some stuff started. It looks like I've actually already completed a goal. The happiness rating was at least 90%, which means they just gave me $10,000. Well, holy crud, that was easy. Well, in that case, I feel like we have to go ahead and place down some additional rides, don't we? I think one very sensible addition I could make to the park might be a drop tower, pretty high intensity. Something like this would work. Okay, so checking in, how are our guests feeling right now? Very happy, not terribly tired. Oh, you know, I never did put a dang toilet into this place. We probably should do that, shouldn't we? Yes, we should. Not to mention, it wouldn't be a bad plan to have things like, let's say, an info kiosk toward the front and stuff. We probably want to get a cash machine, too, because I want people to withdraw as much money as they can. And again, I'll just cover this thing entirely in some simple structures like this, and no one will even know there's a restroom here. All right, so that should take care of that. So how are we looking as far as decorations and stuff? Right now, pretty darn good, actually. For the most part, our guests do not seem to mind most places in the park, with the notable exception of some dang vomit. Now, there are a few features in this game that I kind of wish existed. Like, well, actually, never mind. I just found it. Wow, okay, I was about to say, can we, like, repaint existing tiles and stuff? And the answer is, yeah, you can. Just click this little button right here, and actually, you can just replace stuff without having to rip it back up. Huh. See, I didn't know this was a thing until this exact moment. That's hilarious. I do know you can change the colors of a lot of your stuff if you want to, which I think is very interesting. I mean, heck, you can even use this little water drop over here in order to pick up the color of, like, almost anything. If I want to place down something that matches up with the sakura leaves over here, we can do that. Pink cobblestones. Hilarious. Anyway, my operating costs appear to be doing pretty well. I'm making a lot of money all of a sudden. What do you know? With $14,000, I feel like we should do something else. How about we place down some fantasy-themed cinemas? People like watching movies when they go to theme parks, right? That's totally what I would spend my money on. Well, let's try something over here. I'm gonna go ahead and set up another one of these little depots, right? So we'll be able to set up some additional shops. And once this is placed, we gotta get hooked up. So we can use the transport tubes to do something kinda like this. I think I gotta hook it up to this location right here. Boom, all right. So goods should now arrive over here, but I still need the employee paths to get things delivered where I want them. So for example, over here, what if I wanted to say, hey, would you like to get yourself, I don't know, how about some pretzels? Or maybe a little bit of cotton candy? Balloons? Those could be fun. People like balloons. How about funnel cakes? So a personal favorite of mine anytime I go to any sort of a park. I mean, they're like atrociously bad for you, but honestly, who even cares? All right, so now that we have this depot set up and we seem to have cut this area off where my guests never have any reason to look behind the curtain and discover how horribly ugly this place is, we can go ahead and then take this depot and then add each of these little points like so. Perfect. And now they'll get supplied here. All I have to do is, of course, supply an additional hauler or two. All right, apparently my guests like really want to continue going over this direction for no reason at all. That's fine. All you have to do is place down a quick little path sign right along, let's say, here that says, no guests allowed. Don't even go around here. It's gross. Gotta admit, so far this park is looking kind of nice, ain't it? Looks like we need to put another roller coaster in here somewhere. Could do a giant, like, enchanted mine tract area. This looks kind of cute. There we go. All right, open this sucker up as well. Now, of course, we're starting to draw people further and further into the park. So we're going to need to think about having either extra places to let people get some food or go to the bathroom or whatever. And also, how do we draw more foot traffic over here reliably? It's going to be a little bit tricky based on how I've done the current layout. Maybe now would be a good time to go ahead and hire an entertainer or two. Maybe a couple of knights go around in my fantasy kingdom. Hello, sir. I don't know, Pants-a-Lot? Whatever we're going to call you. So let's see. Right now we're making about $1,000 a month or so in operating costs, which is not, you know, great. $1,000 a month doesn't exactly do a lot for me. It means sit around here for 20 minutes before you can build anything fun. But with 530-something guests in the park, it seems like we're doing pretty well for ourselves, gradually drawing people over in this direction. Just need to keep building on that. What's something that seems thematically appropriate? Teacups? Maybe. No, none of these really match. Although I will say, I think these Dutch teacups look adorable. Holy crud, I almost want to place them just because they're so cute. Screw it. It's my park, and I can do what I want to. Although as cute as these buildings are with the flowers in the windows and everything, if this is going to be Dutch, where's the tulips? There's a lot of roses, but not a lot of tulips. I'm just saying. My park was showcased by a popular content creator. Ha! 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 Oh, the game's becoming self-aware. Some of the designs in this game are actually pretty clever too, by the way. For example, pea shooter pummel over here. I mean, tell me that doesn't look very suspiciously like a pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies. I don't think anyone secured any intellectual property rights to that, but I mean, like, the fact that you can make that in the game is pretty impressive. Oh, getting a little bit bored waiting for money. Let's see if we can go ahead and take out a loan. What's a loan to me? Practically nothing. It's practically free money. I'll go ahead and take this sucker. Well, this is a lower rate of interest. I guess I'll take Happy Co. Okay, cool. I was thinking we could place down maybe like one more roller coaster before we call it a day. Maybe something like this spinning coaster over here. Crazy Kingdom or wherever they call that. Yeah, this could be good. Bada boom. It's another castle. Yay! Now, I do kind of wish that there were some mods in this game that allowed you to actually ride the rides, kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 ended up doing, though a lot of people don't absolutely love that game for some reason. Yeah, there are mods for this apparently though, and that's again where the creativity of the modding community really comes through in even a game like Parkitect. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that changes up either the base mechanics or adds in new functionality or just a lot of prefabs that make this game a lot faster to jump into and, frankly, a lot more enjoyable. And speaking of enjoyment, you know something that's kind of weird to me is how much I enjoy a proper theme park tycoon game. I've always loved playing these as a kid, but you know, I never liked theme parks themselves in real life. I hated them, in fact. Partly because I had a phobia of roller coasters. A bit of a traumatic childhood experience on the oldest wooden roller coaster on the west coast of the U.S. Took that at a young age, did not handle it well. Took me until my mid-20s to overcome that. But the point is, even though I never really much cared for theme parks myself, designing a good one always was a very fun activity. And this really does take me back to my childhood days of Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2. This game really does capture that feel very well without being a direct clone and copy, and adding in a few extra little mechanics, like having to, you know, supply some of your kiosks and stuff, requires a little bit more intelligent planning for your theme park, and also the immersion factor being so important for your guests. Encourages you to go crazy decorating and not just build like some giant asphalt park like you could in Roller Coaster Tycoon. This is way more enjoyable to me. I think these guys did a fantastic job of capturing what was kind of a nostalgic niche, but they delivered in a way that makes this really, really fun. Anyway, guys, that's a good look at Parkitect and what that game has to offer. I enjoy this. I think I'll include a link in the description down below, just in case you guys want to pick it up for yourselves. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.